Hey guys, today I want to do another overview of my headphone collection. So I've done a few videos like this before, and every year my headphone collection kind of changes around a bit. So yeah, as of January 2025, this is what my current headphone collection looks like. And definitely some things have changed compared to my last video. So my last headphone collection video was from 2024, last year. And yeah, a lot of headphones well, just shifted around and changed a bit, and then others stayed the same. So I just want to talk a bit about each one and, you know, what's changed and what stayed the same. Okay, so have actually 11 different, I guess, devices to talk about right here. Some are going to be earbuds and earphones, and then some are going to be wireless, and some are going to be wired, and some are going to be over ear. So I'll just talk a bit about each one. I'm going to start from the bottom left, actually. This is the second cheapest, actually, out of the one in the group. So this is the Final Audio VR3000s. These are about 60 bucks US. I'm gonna just talk in US dollars. Yeah, so these are in-ear headphones. And they're not expensive or anything. These are actually some of the most affordable headphones that Final Audio makes. Final Audio is a Japanese audio company, for those of you guys who don't know. They focus mainly on in-ear monitors, but they do make some high-end over-ear headphones as well, like the D8000 Pros. But for the most part, they're well known for their ear tips and their in-ear monitors. And this is definitely one of the most affordable earphones that they make is the VR3000. They're mostly meant for VR applications, as the name might imply, but they can work just as normal earphones as well. They're more geared towards a wider soundstage, just to give you, you know, good soundstage and good dynamic range, I would say, is what they're focused on. So that makes it very suited, you know, for playing VR games. But actually, I don't use this just for VR. Of course, I do use it with my Meta Quest 3 VR headset. But I mostly use this actually with my Groovis G3 Max, which is a head-mounted display that lets you input external headphones or earphones. So I use it with that headset, and it's a pretty amazing experience with that. Yeah, I just use it just for like watching movies or playing games using that head-mounted display. And that's really what I use it for, is I use it with headsets, actually, with my VR headset and my head-mounted display. And yeah, it's not expensive or anything, just provides you know, good soundstage for the price, and a good width, like good amount of dynamic range and detail. It's not like gonna be anything special to those of you guys who have, like, you know, really like even something like the Shure S12 Pro, which is like $150, I think, is going to blow this out of the water in terms of actual, you know, musical quality and detail. So it's not like anything special to those of you guys who have, you know, really expensive IEMs or even cheaper IEMs. But for me, that's why I use this just like for yeah, for watching movies and gaming, essentially. It doesn't need to be the most expensive or the best for that. Just does this job pretty well for that. So it's the Final VR3000s. And then I have the wireless earbuds here next. So yeah, this is a new one. Actually, last year I had the Audio-Technica TWX9 in this spot, but I have the Technics AZ80 right now, which is actually, this is not the most expensive Technics wireless earbuds anymore. They just came out with the AZ100 not long ago. But the AZ80s used to be Technics kind of top of the line wireless earbuds. Yeah, now it's this second from the top now. But it's still pretty good. I would say, like, this used to retail for about $300. Now it's dropped down to like $200 US. But yeah, it provides a pretty decent amount of detail. It's definitely a bit more V-shaped compared to the Audio-Technica TWX9s I had before. Noise canceling is about the same. It doesn't have the UV filtration technology that the Audio-Technicas had. But overall, it's still a pretty decent pair of wireless earbuds. Very good, like, detail, sound quality for this. Yeah, and actually, if you guys are looking for a V-shaped type sound signature, which you know, like, I don't necessarily say I'm a guy who really likes to have Harman curve, but this is definitely the most Harman curved probably out of all the headphones I got here. So yeah, definitely sounds, if you guys like, you know, the highs and the lows, the mids are scooped a bit, but overall, safer sound quality is pretty good. It's actually not my main one, but rather my secondary wireless earbuds. You might be wondering, why did I get rid of the Audio-Technica TWX9s? Well, that's because one of the ears doesn't pair well anymore. It's like, for some reason, like, You know, this happens a lot, I would say, with wireless earbuds and even like earphones, cheaper earphones. I didn't expect it to happen with top of the line Audio-Technica wireless earbuds, but yeah, one of the ears just doesn't pair as well. Like, I can connect both ears, but like one of the ears doesn't output the sound, and it depends, like, yeah, how I connect them or whatever, but I can never get both of them outputting the sound at the same time again. So unfortunately, it seems like my current Audio-Technica TWX9s don't work as well anymore. So hence why I'm using the Technics AZ80 as kind of a replacement. Yeah, a bit unfortunate, because otherwise I would not have gotten rid of my TWX9s. I think those were pretty good, but anyways, they don't work properly anymore. So yeah, now the Technics AZ80s now. Okay, so yeah, this was mainly just to replace my Audio-Technica TWX9s, which don't work as well anymore. All right, and roughly the similar sound quality, I would say. Next up is probably the one that I would consider to be for wireless earbuds. I think this is better quality than the Audio-Technicas and the Technics. This is a Bang & Olufsen Beoplay EXs. Very high quality. Also the most expensive at retail. I think this is like $400 US. Yeah, so it's very, very high end for wireless in-ears. And yeah, overall, I don't have anything too bad to say about this one. Like, nothing, because this is like, I tested a whole bunch of wireless earbuds, honestly, and yeah, this one just kind of came out on top. It has a good balance. It's not exactly a hard V shape like the Technics, but you know, a bit of a softer one, a little bit more balanced. Yeah, just the sound quality, the detail, the soundstage. It's probably the best I've heard from a wireless ear so far. So yeah, and that's kind of surprising, because I'm not usually a fan of Bang & Olufsen. I found like Bang & Olufsen stuff is usually overpriced for the sound quality that you get. It's mostly, I feel like they focus too much on the appearance of their products rather than the sound quality. Not to say that the sound quality is bad or anything. It's just like they overcharge for it, because the money like they charge is like they price it at a premium, because they usually make their products look really good. They focus on design, the luxurious materials and stuff a lot, which pushes up the price, and they charge a premium price for their products. But if you can find it at a discount, and I usually, you know, I don't buy Bang & Olufsen stuff at retail price, of course. I wait for a discount. If you can find this stuff at a discount, it's actually really good. So yeah, anyways, of course I got this at a discount. For that, it's pretty good. It's probably the best sounding wireless earbuds I've heard so far. Now, I haven't heard stuff like the Noble Focus Mystique, or I haven't heard the Debliat Gemini 2s. Those are pretty expensive, and probably, you know, they're pretty good. But yeah, for me, out of the ones I've heard, the Bang & Olufsen Beoplay EXs are pretty good. Just all around detail, soundstage, tuning, everything is really good on these. Noise cancellation, about the same as the Audio-Technicas and Technics. Not to say that they're as good as any Bose or Sony wireless earbuds when it comes to that, but it's all right. So anyways, this is my main wireless earbuds when it just comes to pure sound quality. Okay, after that is the Koss Porta Pros, which is now like pretty much just my set of backup testing headphones, essentially. So I used to use the Monster Gratitudes just to test stuff, to make sure that, you know, an output jack is working and stuff, and now I use the Koss Porta Pros. I mean, why not? This thing is $40 US. It's really cheap. You can get it for cheaper than that, actually. It's often $30 on sale. So it's extremely cheap pair of headphones, and the sound quality is actually quite good. You might be thinking $30, $40 pair of headphones sounds like crap, but it doesn't. It sounds actually really good. It sounds more like a $100 pair of headphones, to be honest, rather than like a $40 pair of headphones. So yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say that these are like sounding like any of those ones up there, but still, like for $40, these really punch above their price. And everyone who's you know, used Porta Pros before, Koss being like one of the, I would say, pioneers of headphone design. I think they were one of the first to make like a stereo headset. Yeah, they're one of the pioneers of headphones manufacturers. And the Porta Pro is like legendary for how good the sound quality is. It doesn't look like it would be good, right? It looks like cheap. It looks cheap, it looks crappy, but believe me, you gotta try these things out, because they really sound like $100 or even $200 headphones. They do not sound like $40 headphones at all. But nowadays I just use this as like kind of testing headphone, because yeah, it's just like a cheap headphone I have around. Sounds pretty good. I use it for testing like output jacks and stuff like that to make sure that things are working. I used to use my Monster Gratitude for that, but now I use my Cost Porter Pro for that. And it folds up, so that's nice too. So next is my IEMs, my in-ear monitors, and I've had these for a while, since 2022. These are the TA Audio Monarch Mark IIs, and I just don't see any reason to upgrade to other ones. I mean, I saw some good deals on Unique Melody, Mest Mark IIs, and was it the Empire Years Odins, and I saw like other good deals on higher end IEMs, but yeah, I just don't feel any need to upgrade from this one, because the TA Audio Monarch Mark IIs is just so well balanced. They're a little bit mid forward, but not too much, and overall just extremely great detail across the entire frequency range, whether it be the mids, the bass, the highs. Everything just sounds very detailed and very balanced. Like nothing's pushed up, nothing's too recessed. It just sounds perfect, and it's you would think like it's not completely neutral or anything like that. It doesn't sound sterile or clinical either. It's just the most well-tuned pair of IEMs I've heard, and yeah, it's just maybe a little bit mid forward, but that's maybe just because it doesn't recess the mids as much as a lot of other headphones and earphones do. Overall, don't have anything to complain about with this one. Yeah, I've had this since 2022 and don't intend to ever upgrade these. They're just that good, and they retail for $1,000 US. Definitely not cheap or anything like that, but hey, I've been using this for years, so not intending to ever really upgrade it unless it breaks or something like that, which it hasn't so far. It has 2-pin connectors, so I can always change out the cables. I'm actually using aftermarket cables. These are Linsol Nymph cables I'm using right now, which is like another $100, but yeah, I don't intend to really upgrade these anytime soon. So these are going to be my IEMs for the foreseeable future. Whenever I go outside, generally I will use these. Okay, up next is my main pair of wireless over-ears, and that's the Bowers & Wilkins PX8. I've shown this on my previous collection videos as well. I've tested many wireless headphones, like a lot. I went through the full cal, but these is probably the one that I feel like sounded the best, but the Bowers & Wilkins PX8 still had the best combination of sound quality and technology to me, because the noise cancellation is still really good on these, and the appearance, the design and everything, and the sound quality. It's just a very well balanced pair of headphones. So overall, this just had everything. The Bowers & Wilkins PX7S2 I had for a long time before this, which I felt was also really good. Like, fantastic value for the price. If you can get those for like $300 now. The PX7 S2Es, like, those are fantastic value for the price. These ones retail, like the McLaren editions are the ones I got. So these are actually a little bit more expensive. Usually they retail for like $600. These are like McLarens are probably like maybe $700. So definitely more expensive, but yeah, I would say not quite as good value as the PX7 S2s, but still still like noticeable upgrade in sound quality from them, and just more balanced. The PX7 S2s were more V-shaped. These are more balanced pair, not quite as V-shaped. So they just have, like, yeah, a good amount of bass, good amount of highs, good amount of mids, nothing really too recessed or too pushed up, which is, you know, what I like about these. Yeah, nothing is really unnaturally pushed up or recessed for the sound signature, and decent amount of detail. I mean, they are a pair of wireless headphones. I don't expect them to compete with these guys up there in terms of detail, but for a pair of wireless headphones, they're pretty good. Soundstage is decent as well. I think the closest one that I considered after this one was the Bang & Olufsen H95s, which came pretty close, honestly, but just the H95s were just even more expensive. Very bling looking, I would say, because it's Bang & Olufsen, right? They focus so much on the design. So yeah, the H95s came pretty close, and those were good headphones too. But I still you know, kept the PX8s, and I'm just comfortable with these ones. And yeah, I tried a whole bunch of other ones: Master and Dynamic, NW75s, AirPods Max, Sonos Ace, Kef Muse 7s, Dali IO 6s, Audi's Maxwells, the Sony 1000XM5s, obviously, Sennheiser Momentum 4s. Tried all of those, Bose Ultra Quiet Comforts. Yeah, like, all those were good, but in their own ways, like they're not quite as good as the PX8s. They fall short of the PX8s when it comes to at least a few categories. These have the best balance of noise cancellation, sound quality, and design. I think that's the three things I was looking for, and this just has the best balance of all three. So yeah, Bowers Wilkins PX8, my main pair of wireless over-ears. Okay, now let's get to the top of the wired over-ears, which are on top. So the cheapest one out of these is the Shure SRH 940s, which about 300 bucks brand new, but you can get it for cheaper online. I actually got this for like 200 bucks, so it's actually not very expensive. But just the amount of detail you can get out of this thing is amazing. This thing's like a detail monster, and it's as detailed as probably like the Hifiman Aria that I have up there, which is pretty impressive because the Aria was like a $900 headphone. So this actually matches the Aria in detail. But of course, like the other qualities, other than detail, this is not as comfortable. It's, you know, obviously not built as well. It's like plastic and everything. It doesn't have much soundstage. But just in terms of just detail and balance, right? Because this is a pretty neutral reference pair of headphones. You're not going to get any unnaturalness out of this. Like, it's not V-shaped. It's pretty neutral. Nothing's really pushed up or recessed. You will be hearing music pretty similar to the way that the artist intended, because it's pretty flat. So for that reason, I don't really use this too much for listening to music, but rather for monitoring. So if you're doing like studio mixing or monitoring, like when I'm recording myself into the microphone and playing it back and stuff, then I'll use this pair of headphones. Really, it's a good headphone for the studio. Yeah, for mixing and monitoring and stuff. Like there's been a lot of other headphones that advertise themselves like that. I think the AKG K7 12 Pros that me and my friend tried probably came closest to this, although it didn't have the bass extension that this has. But then there's a Newman NDH 720s or whatever. Those were not quite as referenced. I found those sounded kind of weird. And then, yeah, some of the Beyerdynamic DT 700 Pro X was okay as well. But yeah, there's a bunch of other headphones. Oh, and the Austrian Audios I tried, which honestly didn't sound very referenced to me either. So yeah, there's a bunch of different headphones I've tried that call themselves reference studio monitor headphones, but they're not really studio monitor headphones. Even Shure's other headphones, like the SRH 1540s and 1840s. The 1540s are not neutral. They're like almost like a Harman curve, close to Harman curve. It's very V-shaped, but still good. I mean, it's got a good sound quality to it, but it's not like a neutral sounding headphone. The 1840s, on the other hand, are more neutral. Sounds more like a Sennheiser HD 650 actually, but yeah, again, I think that the detail in this is still the best. Funny enough, because this is not Shure's most expensive headphone. The 1840s and 1540s, yeah, those are more expensive. But this one has the best detail out of them, which is funny, right? It's not even their most expensive headphone. So anyways, just for the neutral sound signature and the detail, yeah, this is probably the best for studio monitoring and mixing. So this is my studio monitor headphones, the SRH 940s, and plus it folds on top of that. So yeah, might not be the best built. Doesn't have the best soundstage or anything, but in terms of just detail and the flat EQ, then I prefer the Shure's. Next up is actually, so I used to have the Beyerdynamic DT700 Pro X on the last video, because I said that one's also pretty good, just as a, yeah, another like pretty good headphone, like kind of comparable to the Shure's in terms of just being a studio headphone. Doesn't match the Shure's in terms of detail, but it's more comfortable and is built better. So yeah, and these are the gaming headset version essentially. These are the open back gaming headset version, because there's the MMX 300, which is like the closed back version. Then this is the MMX 330 Pros. So yeah, these are made, they're pretty new actually. I think they just came out with it last year. But yeah, Beyerdynamic, they're a German company. They've been, you know, in business for many, many years, over 100 years, I think. And these are actually made in Germany, which is pretty cool considering the price. It's only 300 bucks. Not too expensive actually, considering all the, you know, all the audiophile headphones that you have on the market. And these are essentially the open back gaming versions of the DT700 Pro X I had before. So it has the same stellar 45 drivers that the DT700 Pro X had, which is really good. I like those drivers. Decent amount of detail, decent soundstage. They're tuned well too. Like again, they're not like not really V-shaped or anything like that. They're not perfectly neutral either, but they're not like, nothing's really unnaturally pushed up, which I like. So yeah, again, these are probably closer to the studio sound, but this MMX 330 version kind of surprised me because, okay, this boom mic is pretty good, actually. I have to say that I got this gaming headset because before this, I didn't have any gaming headset. I just had like a dedicated USB mic, which was my Blue Yeti Nano that I used for gaming. And instead of having to lug around that Blue Yeti mic all the time when I went to like a friend's house or my brother's house or traveling, I decided just to get a headset that has a built-in boom mic instead of carrying around a separate headphone and microphone. And I think this one works well. It's a nice quality mic. I mean, Beyerdynamic is well known for making mics as well as headphones, so it makes sense. They have expertise in both. And despite the fact that this is an open back, it actually doesn't leak sound that much. Like, I would say that, yeah, when you're actually listening to music on this headphone, like, you would have to be pretty close to the person to actually be able to hear, like, you would have to be right beside the person to be able to hear anything from this headphone. It's not like the Hifiman Arias, for example. Those leaks sound like crazy. You can hear that Hifiman, it's like a speaker. It leaks sound all across the room. But these Beyers, even though they're open back, they don't leak that much sound. Like, it's like almost like a semi-open back, just like my old Beyerdynamic T1s. Like, this will leak a little bit of sound, but it's like not that, like, you'd have to be right beside the person to actually hear that. So it's actually not, yeah, it's not too leaky, which is good, right? It's an open back, which means you get the wider soundstage of the open back, but then it's not too leaky. So you have to be like pretty close to the person to even hear anything. So yeah. I was impressed by that. Obviously, with Beyerdynamic, you get a very, very comfortable headset. So the velour ear pads and the headband here, very, very nice. I can wear this for hours. Same is true for all of Beyerdynamic headsets. Like, yeah, their headphones are just super comfortable. I've said this many times, Beyerdynamic and Dan Clark, these are the two brands that have the most comfortable headphones in general. Just never experienced any discomfort with these ones. Just, you can wear them for hours. They're built really well, you know, made in Germany, what you expect, right? Parts are all replaceable and everything. It's only $300. It's not too expensive in the grand scheme of things. And yeah, essentially it's the gaming headset version of the DT700 Pro X, but the open back version. The 300 is the closed back version if you really want total isolation. But I don't think these leak much sound anyways, to be honest. So yeah, these are pretty good. The MMX 330s, and it comes with a pretty decent microphone as well. So yeah, that's my main gaming headset, which also can be used, actually, if you want to use this as a studio monitor, you can. It's like not one of those headphones that has an unnatural frequency response or anything like that. So, but I have my Shures, but yeah, if I didn't have my Shures, I can also use that as a studio monitor. So yeah, the next three headphones are my most expensive ones. These are like the really, really audiophile ones. But actually, to be honest, these are all like a kind of like a downgrade from my previous headphones that you saw in my last collection video, except for the Noir. Yeah, the Noir is actually an upgrade. And I do have something to say about this one. So the Dan Clark Noir X, this is a very new headphone and came out late last year. It's essentially the more affordable version of the Dan Clark E3, which is a very well reviewed closed back by Dan Clark. And Dan Clark Audio is yeah, I had to explain this because Dan Clark Audio is not super well known, right, for mainstream consumers. They're a headphone manufacturer based in San Diego, California. They make all their headphones, I believe they make all their headphones in the US, in San Diego. And they make only planar magnetic headphones, so they're well known as, probably along with Audis and Hifiman, they're one of the three most well-known planar magnetic headphone manufacturers. And yeah, they've been making, especially, I think, great closed-back headphones. If I were to suggest to someone, hey, what are the best, I know like headphone brands, you can't really generalize them too much, but just, you know, for closed back headphones, suggest me some brands that are really good at closed back headphones. And I would say Denon and Dan Clark. These are the two that I would suggest, because Denon only makes closed backs and they focus on it, and they're pretty good at it with all three of their headphones. And Dan Clark as well. I just think that although they make open back headphones too, their closed back planar magnetics are just superb in terms of the soundstage. I've never heard, this Dan Clark Noir X is essentially an upgrade of their previous headphone, the Dan Clark Aeon 2 Noirs, which I did have before. I had it in my previous collection. And these are essentially the upgraded version with more detail and everything, more soundstage, more detail, and even more comfortable design. Yeah, they just basically perfected that. I think the E3 was very highly, like, well acclaimed, well reviewed, and they trickled down the technology into the Aeon Noir line, and they upgraded the Nora into the Nora X, and these are just fantastic. I don't have really anything bad to say about this one, because like the price is even pretty good. It's $1,000. Sure, that's expensive when you talk to the average consumer, but when it comes to the grand scheme of things, like this is a headphone that outperforms many of the other headphones I've tried for over $1,000. Like the Denon D9200s, that's $1,600. I would say this, I would take this one over the Denon D9200s. The Audio-Technica AWKTs, which are the upgraded version of those ones, that's like $1,900 closed back headphone. I would take these over that for sure. These are way better tuned. Yeah, there's so many like more expensive closed backs. I would take this over. Like, so $1,000. Yeah, it's expensive when you talk to the average non-audiophile, but man, this is a great closed back headphone. Like, I don't have anything bad to say about it. Just overall, it's amazing. It's got great comfort, very comfortable. Like I said, Dan Clark, along with Beyerdynamic, that makes some of the most comfortable headphones. Obviously closed, so it isolates sound, so you can use them outside, kind of, because they need some power to drive. So you need to have a, I use balanced cables, so you need to have some decent amount of power to drive them. But if you have like a DAP that has balance, it should be like mostly okay. I would suggest at least 600 milliwatts of output. And then these are very comfortable ear pads as well. It's kind of synthetic, but they have like, this little felt. Actually Alcantara, I believe. Yeah, it's Alcantara here. Really nice. Yeah, and it's essentially just the upgraded version of the Dan Clark Aeon 2 Neuros, which are already pretty well reviewed. But the thing with those ones is I just felt like they needed a bit more detail, and then Dan Clark gives us that with the Neuro X to give you more detail, and they also widen the soundstage as well. And these are the closed backs I've heard that has the widest soundstage. It actually sounds like an open back. Like, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how Dan Clark does it, but they made this closed back headphone sound like an open back. Like, that's crazy, right? The amount of soundstage you get out of this is amazing. And yeah, good detail, very finely tuned. The Noir was known for being very well tuned, because it's not like exactly Harman or V-shape or anything like that, but it's kind of like a softer V-shape. It's not flat or neutral, because that would be a little bit too like clinical sounding, I guess. Like the Shures, I don't listen to Shures like for the music, because it's a little bit too clinical sounding sometimes. And the Focal Elex and other headphones like that, a little bit too clinical sounding because it's a little bit too flat. But again, if it's too V-shaped, then you have like way too much bass and highs that are pushed up too much, mids are too recessed, right? Well, yeah, with the Neuros and the Neuro X's, the tuning is just perfect. They managed to elevate the bass a little bit and the treble a little bit, just to keep it more fun. It makes it more dynamic sounding. And the mids actually don't sound too recessed with this one. So it was more like they just elevated the bass and treble a little bit to give it a little bit more dynamic sounding, to make it a little bit more lively. And the mids are not even that recessed. So overall, just great. It's been tuned great. Soundstage is amazing. They upped the detail level, and very comfortable. So I don't have anything bad to say about these headphones. These are just great headphones. Probably my number one recommendation. If you're looking for a closed back headphone under $1,000, these ones, no contest really. Yeah. If you're just looking for the best pair of closed back headphones under $1,000, these are $999. Yep, pick these up, man. Nothing beats this right now. And the Hifiman Aria Stealths. The same thing I said about the Dan Clark Neuro X's tuning, I can say about the Aria Stealths. I think that this is probably one of Hifiman's, probably the best tuned headphone I've heard so far. And I've heard a lot of Hifiman so far. Not every one, of course, but I heard a lot of them. I've heard the Varas, actually, which is their top of the line headphone. Those are very like neutral headphones, very reference, but a little bit too clinical sounding for me. Very detailed though. So the Varas, super detailed, but also a little bit too flat for me. A little bit too clinical, sterile sounding. Then I've heard the HE1000s, and actually in my previous video I had the H1000 V2s and Stealths. I've heard both of those. The V2s are, again, just like the Susvaras, a little bit too flat, a little bit too clinical, sterile, even though I had great detail. So I don't like the tuning of those too much. Stealths, a little bit too V-shaped, so it's too much on the other end. The bass was a little bit pushed a little bit too high for me. And yeah, I don't like to have bass pushed up too high. I wanted to push it up a little bit, but not too high. So the stealths had a little bit too much for the HE1000s. And the Audio Organics, again, same thing. The Audio Organics and the HE1000 Stealth, honestly, very similar tuning. Just the HE1000 Stealth has a little bit more detail, but they're pretty close. Both of them are a little bit too V-shaped for me. The Sundaras I've tried as well. Which obviously doesn't have as much detail as the Arias. So, but the Aria Stealths, are just, yeah, these are. You might be asking, why did I downgrade from the HE1000 to these? The Aria is actually below the HE1000s in terms of Hifiman's lineup, and it's because even though this doesn't have, the Aria Stealth does not have the as much detail or soundstage as the HE1000. They're not as resolving as the HE1000 is. I know that, but it's tuned better. I just like how the Stealth's tuning is amazing. It's like the Dan Clark Nora X. Like these are the same tuning as the Nora X, but in an open back form, which means that the soundstage is even more than the Nora X's, right? And these leaks sound like crazy, by the way. I've mentioned this. These are like little speakers. They leak sound across the room. So these are going to be very leaky. However, the soundstage on this is the biggest, widest out of all my headphones. So yeah, you get super good soundstage out of these. Not quite as much as the HE1000s, but close. And the tuning is just perfect, right? Just a little bit of bass, a little bit of elevated bass, a little bit of elevated treble, and the mids are not pushed down too much. Like, it's not super V-shaped, just a soft V-shape, and I think that's my favorite tuning. Not totally, like, not very flat or clinical like the Sesvaras or HE1000 V2s, but not too V-shaped, and the bass is not pushed up too much like the HE1000 Stealths or the Aria Organics. So the Aria Stealths are like the perfect in-between for me in terms of tuning. Sure, it doesn't have the soundstage or the detail of the HE1000s and Sesvaras. However, yeah, it's easier to drive than the HE1000s and Sesvaras, and the tuning I think is better, for me anyways. I like the fact that it's a soft V shape. Yeah, it just makes it a little bit more fun and dynamic. Now, it's not built as well as the HE1000s either. This is just Hifiman, yeah, the build quality isn't that great for the Arias, but if you're just talking about pure sound quality, yeah, these are the best sounding out of all my headphones here, period, in terms of just pure sound quality, I think. Just soundstage is the widest. Detail, yeah, probably has the best detail out of all these, except for the Audio-Technica is probably in the mids. But overall, the best detail. And yeah, just tuned really well, just like the Nora X's. So that's why I still stick with the Aria Stealths. So I basically downgraded because the HE1000s is a higher end headphone. It's like $1,400. These are like a $900 headphone. Actually, they're cheaper now. They've been reduced in price to like $650 now, because Hifiman came out with a whole bunch of new models, right? The unveiled models and stuff. So they pushed down all the older prices. So this is like $650 now, which is incredible. If you can pick this up for $650, the Aria Stealths, go for it. It's an incredible deal for the amount of like sound and sound quality that you get from this headphone. For that money is unbeatable. Basically, $650 for the Aria Stealths. You can't beat that in terms of sound quality. Yeah, just like go compare to any other headphone at $650. Sennheiser, Beyerdynamic, Meze, Audis, like name it. These will beat it in terms of sound quality at that price. Okay, so yeah, highly recommend. Actually, if you guys are looking for open back and closed back, I recommend these two because they're just the most balanced in terms of the sound quality, the tuning, and everything. So yeah, the Nora X's and the Aria Stealths. If I were to choose two headphones, two over-ear headphones out of this collection that I would just keep no matter what, I think it'll be these two. Okay, last but not least, the Audio-Technica AWAS. So this is also kind of a downgrade because I did have the Denon D9200s, which were a little bit more expensive than this, and I had the Audio-Technica AWKTs, which are the upper, like the higher end model, and I had the APT1000 Ti's, which are a little bit lower end model. So the thing with the Audio-Technicas is that they're all very specialized. Oh, I forgot to talk about the companies, by the way. Yeah, Hifiman is a Chinese company. They're also well known for making planar magnetics, just like with Dan Clark, except Hifiman's came out, I think they were like the first company to come out with planar magnetics. Them and Audis. I forget who came first, but Hifiman and Audis are like the first mainstream, kind of mainstream, not really mainstream, but kind of like bigger headphone companies to come out with planar magnetic headphones and market them to audiophiles, I would say. So yeah, they're one of the first planar magnetic headphone companies. And yeah, they were one of the first companies I remember being like, wow, this is a Chinese company and they're legit, right? Nowadays, there's a bunch of legit Chinese companies, but back then I remember like Chinese companies are so associated with like bad products, basically cheap bad products. And the Hifiman is like one of the first Chinese companies I remember thinking, wow, they're actually very legit, right? Anyways, Audio-Technica, I think people should know them. They are like Japanese. They make they've been in business since the 60s. They make phono cartridges, headphones, microphones, turntables, etc. They're well known for their entry-level headphones, like the M50X. However, they are not quite as well known for their higher-end headphones like this one. But they do have a whole range of higher-end headphones. They go all the way up to like $5,000. People might not be aware of that. But Audio-Technica has a whole range of headphones, not just the entry-level ones. But yeah, these ones, I've had a lot of Audio-Technica headphones. Yeah, I've had like the WP900s, the R70Xs. I've tried the AP2000 Ti's I had before, AWKTs, now the AWAS. These are probably my favorite so far out of them, and it's interesting because I feel like Audio-Technica's higher end headphones like this one, they're very specialized. Like they're not like what I said about the Neura X and the Hifiman Arias. Like they're tuned really well to a point where like most people can enjoy them with most types of music. But this is like Audio-Technica's high end headphones are like tuned in a special way where only a few genres of music might be okay with them, but not all. Like the AP2000 Ti's, the level below this one, with the titanium shells, like those ones are good for electronic music and pop music because they have a really emphasized treble. So the high end is really pushed up on those headphones. So that's very specialized. And then the AWKTs, the model that's higher end from this, that model has very pushed up upper mid-range and high end response. So I wonder who are these headphones for? Like they're for very specialized tracks, right? This headphone, relatively speaking, is a little bit more balanced than those headphones, but still a little bit specialized. So this one does not have much bass. Yeah, it's like maybe similar to the AP2000 Ti's, but I think the AP2000 Ti's might even have better bass than this. Yeah, the bass response on this and the AWKTs actually are similar. They don't have much of a bass response. It's pretty flat on the bass. Treble is also not as emphasized. So the AWKTs, the treble is emphasized. The AP2000 Ti's, obviously the treble is emphasized. Very treble forward. But these like trebles are not emphasized. It's the mids instead that are emphasized. So this one really brings out the mids. So when I listen to these headphones, when I listen to guitar tracks, vocal tracks, it just comes out and it kind of blooms, right? You have that organic mid-range that kind of opens up. It's kind of the same way my old Beyerdynamic T1 did. The second generation T1s, I mean to say. Yeah, so the Beyerdynamic T1 second generations I had before were kind of like that. The AWAS is like this too, but in a closed back form. And not quite as warm sounding as the Beyerdynamic T1s. The T1s are very warm sounding. These are more brighter sounding, like typical Japanese headphones, more brighter sounding. And yeah, I like it for use with those kind of tracks. Basically, it's a very specialized headphone, right? Just for use with mid-forward type of tracks. You want to like be able to emphasize the mids and stuff like that. You hear a very organic wide mid-range. Then yeah, these are pretty much the headphones for that. So I would say it's a very pretty specialized headphone, just like most of Audio-Technica's high-end headphones are. $1,400 it retails for, so it's definitely very expensive. I did not pay the full price for this. I would not pay full price for any of Audio-Technica's high-end stuff because they're not worth it. Definitely get these on a discount though. Yeah, like I don't think it's probably because they use the nice Japanese cherry wood here and then the exotic woods that they use on their high-end stuff. That's what pushes the prices up. But like audio quality wise, I don't think that Audio-Technica's high-end stuff is worth the price. Just wait for a sale and discount on this. That's how I got this. So yeah, this I was thinking about this and the D9200s from Denon, right? I had the Denon D9200s, the bamboo wooden closed-back. That one was $1,600, pretty close in price. Yeah, it was a pretty tough choice, but I ended up going with this one. I felt like the Denons, they have really good bass, and I think the bass is probably the thing that really stands out to me about the Denon D9200s compared to this. This doesn't have as much bass. The D9200s has very good bass, but this one has that spectacular open mid-range. that's very mid-range forward, and it reminds me of like an upgraded version of the Fostex TH610s that I really loved before. So I used to have the Fostex TH610s, which were kind of pretty underrated, overlooked model from Fostex. I think it's their best tuned headphone actually. It's reasonably flat, but it does have a little bit of a mid-range bump, so it has a it's a little bit mid-forward, and then these ones are like that as well. These are kind of like the upgraded version of the Fostex TH610s. It's very tuned very similarly. It has that reasonably flat, but with a little bit of a mid-range push. So you see, like, this is a little mid-forward, just like with the Fostex TH610s, except these ones are just just almost an upgraded version with even more detail all around. So I would say I don't like this double band thing the Audio-Technica has. I mean, it's okay. It's not uncomfortable or anything, but it's definitely not as comfortable as the Beyerdynamics and the Dan Clarks, that's for sure. Maybe similar to the Hifiman Aria Stealths, which are not actually that comfortable either. So I can wear this for like maybe an hour max, but and these ear pads are gigantic because the drivers here are gigantic. They're 53mm drivers. But these are made in Japan, as you would expect, for this kind of price, and it looks really, really good. The wood cups look really nice. This is Japanese cherry wood. On the AWKTs, they have the Kokutan. AP2000 Ti's, they have the titanium. So they all have like different kinds of woods and stuff. But again, yeah, I was deciding between this and the D9200s that I had in my last video, the Denons. And it was really like the Denon D9200s has probably better build quality because it has like overall, I do think the Denon D9200s had better build quality because the frame and everything was like metal, right? So that was better build quality. I actually prefer the cherry wood over the bamboo and the wood cups. They both have wood cups, but I prefer the cherry wood, the Japanese cherry wood here. Yeah, I think one reason why I got rid of my Denon D9200s in favor of the Audio-Technica AWS is because my D9200s, in terms of the sound signature, it sounds pretty close to the Dan Clark Neural X, honestly. Like, sure, like the bass on the Denon D9200s is a bit better than the Neural X's, but it's not like the Neural X's bass isn't good or anything, and they're fairly close in terms of sound signature, except that the Neural X is an even better soundstage. And they're both like pretty much equal in detail, I would say. It's just that the Neural X's has an even better soundstage than the D9200s, and are actually a bit more comfortable too, and also more portable because it folds up and stuff. So yeah, I think because I have the Neural X and it's fairly close in sound signature to the D9200 and also close in detail, and it also has more soundstage, that's why I chose the Audio-Technica AWS, because it's more unique. It does something my other headphones doesn't do, which is emphasize the mid-range more. So yeah, I think that's why I went with the AWS series. Just a more very detailed mid-range and emphasis on the mid-range, which none of my other headphones here do. But at the same time, it's more of a specialist headphone. I can't use it to listen to all genres of music like I can with the Hifiman Aria Stealth or the Dan Clark Neural X's, because those are more general headphones that are good with most types of music. But the AWS is really, just for the vocal heavy or guitar heavy or any kind of mid-heavy music. I think it's the best for. But yeah, in terms of the sound quality wise, pretty similar all around. It's just that the D9200 has a very different tuning. That one has a W-shaped tuning, and the bass is pushed up a bit, and it's good quality bass, and that's the thing I noticed about that one. But this one is like the Fostex TH610s, which means it's reasonably flat, but with a little bit of a mid push, so it's a little bit mid forward. So I use this when I listen to vocal tracks and guitar tracks, because those will stand out a bit more because of that mid forward tuning. So really, it's a specialized type of headphone, and really that's when I use it to listen to those types of tracks. So yeah, a lot of Audio-Technica's high-end stuff is like that, very specialized. Anyways, that's my collection, guys. That's my current headphone collection. They all have their own purposes, right? The Bowers & Wilkins PX8, this is why wireless over ears, what I use mostly when I'm traveling. TA Audio Monic Mark II is their IEMs, so I use them when I go outside. Very portable, easy to fit in my pocket. The Cost Porter Pros, basically when I'm testing my headphone output. Technics AZ80, kind of like my backup wireless earbuds. Like, I use them with my other devices, and then my main wireless earbuds is my Bang & Olufsen Beoplay EXs, which I use with my main music player, and it's for my other music players that I want to use wireless on. In the final VR3000 for my VR headset and head-mounted displays. The Shure SRH 940s for monitoring. The Beyerdynamic MMX 330 Pros for gaming, and Audio-Technica AWAS for mid forward, like just the vocal tracks and guitar heavy tracks. That's what I'll use this headphone for because it's very specialized. And then the most general headphones are these two, the Hifiman Aria Stealths and the Nora X's. The Aria Stealths, generally, if no one else is at home, I'll use these because, yeah, they leak sound. But in terms of the general sound quality, those are probably the best and works for most genres. Nora X's, just in general, I'll use this for anything, any reason, because they're just, yeah, great headphones overall for any type of music, just like with your Aria Stealths, except these don't leak sound. Also, they fold up too. So they fold up like this, so they're more portable too. Although the Hifimans do float, they do fold flat. So yeah, Hifiman Aria Stealths do fold flat like this. So they technically are portable, but they leak sound like crazy. So that's the issue with those. But the newer X's don't leak sound, and that makes them even more flexible and versatile. So that's my headphone collection, guys. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. If you have any comments about any of these headphones, or if you guys want any recommendations on headphones or earphones or IEMs, let me know. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching.